Hi, I'm Dave from boyinaband.com. Today I've got a sweet tutorial for you guys from Phortysiks on this high-pitched kind of synth. Now, he uses Massive, and I know a lot of you guys don't use it, so I provided you guys with the wavetables that he uses. There's a free download, link in the description, so you can follow along even if you don't have Massive, since the wavetables are the hardest part to kind of emulate in different software. Here I've done it in Reason, but obviously you can do it in your own DAW as well. If you have got Reason, just N&XT, right-click, add zone, and then chuck in the samples there. So, take it away, Phortysiks.
Hi guys, today we're going to be learning how to make a throaty, screamy, siren-y kind of dubstep synth. It's a good filler, like a good secondary synth in your tune. I wouldn't call it like a killer kind of main bass that you'd use, but it's a nice contrast, if you like, to put in. And I used it recently in my Skyline remix, which you've just heard. To make it, we're going to be using Massive and the plugin Wow by Sugarbytes, which I've talked about recently. Really good. So we're going to be using that to really beef it up. So I've got an instance of Massive here. We'll jump straight in and try and recreate this. So the first oscillator here is going to be a cicada, casada, whatever you want to call it. I don't really know what it is. Kika, chica, it says up there. Anyway, it's that one. It sounds a bit like this at the moment. It sounds a little bit weird. What we're going to do is just move the wavetable position around to the right, and as we do this, you'll hear it become kind of more like a square wave, quite kind of a tube sound, and a lot more high pitched. And the second oscillator, there's only going to be two. The second one is going to be an iron, which is just above it. Let's bring the amplitude all the way up. And the wavetable position all the way up as well. Now that sounds very out of tune, so we're going to change the type of wave to a bend minus plus. So you can hear it now. It's again another quite wobbly modulating synth, but we're going to do our own modulations with the filter, so we'll keep this the way it is. So there are the oscillators, that's all you need to know for the oscillators. I'm just going to move this slider up here because we're going to be using two filters. We want the filters to have an effect separately, not parallel, so it means that the routing of the audio has got to go through one filter before it goes to the other, which is quite key. So we want it to go through the top one and out through the bottom one. So it goes through both in series rather than in parallel, which is what that SER stands for, is series. So the first of these filters is going to be a scream filter. And we're going to move the cutoff all the way up to the top, but we'll be modulating this later. So leave it there for now. And the scream is going to be 2/5 the way around. Hasn't really affected it much as yet. And the second filter is going to be a low pass 4, with the filter cutoff again all the way up. And the resonance we'll leave the same. Again, hasn't changed. So now we're going to do a few key things down in this section. The first one is in the oscillator section. We're going to check this box here, restart via gate. What this does is that it restarts all of the oscillator phases from when you initiate a MIDI note, which means you don't get weird phasing and different sounding notes every time you play like a MIDI key. So it sounds the same every time. So now that I've done that, I'm just going to go to the ENV4, which is what my amplitude is for the whole synth is routed to. You can see it's dying down, so we don't want it to lose any volume, so we're just going to boost that level and just decrease the attack so it hits with a punch. So you can hear it there. Now we're going to modulate these filters. I'm going to be using the performance section here, and we're going to be making sure that we have, if we go to the load curve, we're going to be having uphill sawtooths. Just click and drag on one of them and drag all the way across while holding your mouse key down. So you've got all of these uphill sawtooths. And click load curve again, and we want to hit sync. Make sure the ratio is 1:12. If you want triplets, you can change this ratio, and uncheck the position as well. So now you can see the sequencer is moving along this key. So let's assign this now to the filters. So we click and drag on this cross here to the cutoff. We're going to click and drag this down to about there. We don't want it all the way around, So about there is fine for the screen filter. And pretty much the same for the cutoff of the low pass filter as well. So now you can hear it. Now it's really doing something. I'm just going to change the project tempo to 140, which is dubstep. So now you can hear it. You can change this ratio so it's synced with the tempo. I'll leave it on triplets for now. Now we're going to move on to some distortion, some EQ and some other things in the effect slots. So in the first effect slot we're going to have a classic tube, and then we're going to increase the dry wet to about 2/5 way around, add some distortion onto it and leave the drive where it is. So without it and with it, it's got a bit of crunch, a bit bigger, which is nice. I'm going to make it a little bit wider. In this second effect slot we're going to put in a dimension expander. I love dimension expanders, especially in massive. Really good way of beefing up your sound. What I do is I decrease the size down so it's just above 0, and then move the dry wet to about halfway around. So without it and with it. The reason why I don't have the size too big is because you don't want a massive kind of delay going on, which is what you get with the bigger size. And this is what happens. You don't want that, so you keep the size as low as possible, but keep the dry wet kind of nice and around in the middle somewhere. So now we've got a synth with a bit of crunch, bit of EQ now. In massive, we're going to decrease the low shelf because we're going to put a sub under it later. And then we're going to boost, I'm going to move this frequency down a little bit and just boost it. So about there. I don't know what frequency that is, but I did it by ear and that sounded quite good. We're going to be adding another EQ onto this at the end after we've played with another filter, so don't worry too much about this. And then we're just going to boost the high shafts to let it sparkle a little bit. And that's everything in massive. Now I've got that, we'll move into Sugar Bytes. We're going to go to the presets here and just go on to a classic and filtered gate. And what we're going to do is change the actual filter itself to a band reject. So we've got a different type of filter. So we're not sticking with the preset, we're going to manipulate a preset. Change the overdrive level to between about 40%, that's about right. Keep the resonance the same. Move the cutoff to just under 300. Just going to right click on this cutoff. You can hear it's on, you can see it's on envelope follower. Make sure it's about halfway where it was is fine. And then on the master here, just going to move this step sequencer down to 0. So we've got no modulation there. And the mix we're going to change to 100%. We'll move the master up to about 180. And now you can hear some proper crunch. So without the filter, and with it, you get some really, really nice width, some really good crunch. And you see it's all doing it through the envelope follower. The envelope follower here is reading the signal that's coming into it and then manipulating this filter in accordance to what it's reading. So you can see this blue line on the outside flickering as the signal's being brought in. So that's Sugar Bytes. Finished with that. I'm just going to add on an EQ. I'm just going to use one from Ableton, EQ8. All I'm going to do is just roll off the low end, like that, and then on number 2 I'm just going to boost around 600 Hertz. So number 2 will boost to about 600 and boost it by about 5 decibels. Just going to raise the Q a bit as well, just to make it a little bit narrower. That's fine. So without the EQ and with it, it's got a little bit more definition in that mids, low mids, which is what we want. So yeah, that's the finished patch. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, guys.
So there we have it. Nice one, Phortysiks. I've done it here, a similar kind of thing, by running the samples into an NXT, as I said, and you can change the LFO and link it to the filter here, and Pulverizer in Reason 6 gives it a nice bit of grit to emulate that tube distortion. You'll have a bit more trouble emulating WoW in Reason particularly, because it's a freaking awesome plugin, but that's just the way life is. If you can find out how to do it, you should post it as a video response, because I'm sure a lot of people would really appreciate that. But I think it is just the fact that it's a really well-made plugin and you might have to splash out. Totally worth it though. Check out Phortysiks' channel here. He has some fantastic other tutorials. Here's one of my favorites. He's a really nice guy, does frequent tutorials. I'm sure you'll find them useful. Cheers for watching, you guys, and have a nice day.